down, the Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, New York, it's a wonderful town.
And now, it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network of programming. And here's your hosts, Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike.
We're coming at you from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike. And joining me right now is my main man, Brooklyn Mikey. What's up, Mike?
Good morning, brother. How are you today?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. How about yourself, man?
I can't complain. It's a beautiful day here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sun is shining. It's going to be like 85 degrees today. How you doing over there in New York?
Actually, it hasn't been too bad, to be honest with you. Today, it's raining, as I think a little bird told you. But, yeah, it's raining right now. But we've actually had a good week. As a matter of fact, my lawn, I mowed it on Monday, and I should have mowed it again yesterday. And I said, I'll do it on Saturday, and, obviously I'm rained out. So it's... I hate in the beginning of the year when the lawn is growing faster than, my hair, I wish my hair grew
that's
like...
non-existent.
I know. I wish my hair grew quicker than my lawn, but, that all happened real quick. But, hey, that's another story. Hey, before we get started, we got a couple of emails to read. But before that, I want to send my thoughts, prayers, condolences, and all that stuff to not only the friends and family of former New York Jet wide receiver and one of Joe Namath's favorite targets, but also to all of the Jet fans. George Sauer passed away earlier this week, and I tell you what, he wasn't that old. I believe he was 67 years old, and this guy was an important part of that Jets Super Bowl team. It's almost funny to say Jets Super Bowl because it was a lifetime ago. But this guy was such an important part of that team, Mike.
Yeah, he was. Actually, he caught 8 passes for 135 yards in that game, and like you said, he was one of Joe's favorite targets. Young man. Was he 69? I believe. Was he
69? I thought I saw somewhere he was 67, but. I could very well, I most likely am wrong, but I'll never forget the one reception he made, and I actually have a still shot of it in that Super Bowl where it looks like he's elevated off the ground 8 feet. It's probably more like, it's over 3, I'll tell you that. I mean, you can tell right by the picture between where his cleats are and where the ground is, but I mean, talk about jumping up to get a pass, and that was a key reception to keep a drive alive during the Jets' only Super Bowl appearance, and of course, still regarded as one of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And as a Jet fan, he will be missed in the Jet family. And it like you said, it's a shame that you talk about the Jets Super Bowl and how he was a key part in the Super Bowl. Was 1969? I mean, come on, that's another story, though.
Yeah, it is. It is another story. And George Sauer was an important part of the game plan. And I got a question for you, real quick. How many times did Joe Willie throw the football in that last quarter when he secured the win against the Colts?
Wow.
And how many did he throw, and how many of those passes went to George Sauer in the fourth quarter?
I'm going to say 4 went to Sauer.
Well, I just set you up good because Joe Namath didn't throw one pass in the fourth quarter of that game. It was typical. I mean, basically, it was the Boozer and Snell show for the fourth quarter. And you know what people got to understand about the Super Bowl back then? Not only was it our only shot at glory being Jets fans, but back then the quarterbacks called the game. Joe Namath called that game from start to finish.
Right.
Nobody was sending in plays, and basically he looked on his armband and said, okay, number 62, yellow, green, red this time, and he was coming up with plays. And a lot of the stories that came out after that game was a lot of those plays were made between him and the receiver when it was a pass play. Basically they just were like, sandlot football. You go down, take a couple steps, make a left. He's drawing them up with pop bottles in the backfield. But great stuff. The game has certainly changed since January of 1969.
Oh, no doubt about that. Now we got the radio helmets and satellites coming in from Mars, calling the plays. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. The game has changed, and you're never going to see those days again. That's for sure.
No, and I wish I would just get to see that day one more time. One more time is all I ask for. But anyway, a couple of emails we got, Mikey. Jean-Paul Valley, who's become a regular viewer of the Talking Boxing with Billy C show, he made a comment on our show about Matt Harvey. We were talking about Matt Harvey last week, and he says, Harvey's something special. I know who's going to start the All-Star game, man. So he's looking ahead here, and based on his performances, I don't know if we can really argue with that at this stage. But he says, and it's going to be at Citi Field. That's another thing I forgot about until I read the email. He says, in his opinion, Harvey's three times he's three times the pitcher than what he's calling a boring, protected Strasburg. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't say he's three times the pitcher. I mean, let's start off by saying, Matt's having an incredible year. He's leading the league in ERA with a 1.28. But I wouldn't go right ahead and say he's three times as good as Strasburg. Strasburg's also having a very good year, and he's proven he can win in this league. So I mean, let's give it a chance. Let's give these pitchers. They're both young, and they're both going to be coming up basically the same time in their careers. And let's give it some time before we start saying who's better. Right now, they're both solid pitchers, and I wouldn't throw either one of them off my team. But yeah, I mean, right now, of course, I kind of favor Harvey because he is a Met, and I'm a Met fan. But yeah, we'll see. I think three times is a little drastic.
Well, we'll go back to Harvey when we talk a little more baseball in a little bit. But I'll get to some extended thoughts on Matt Harvey. But I think we got a home run there with no pun intended. I think we got a home run with Matt Harvey, and I hope that the Mets do what's right and make him the face of the franchise because he's well worth it, and they've made some blunders, especially recently. So, Chris Burr 55555 says as a comment on the show before last when we were talking about the Jets being a joke. Of the NFL. He says the Jets really stands for just end the season. He says the Jets as a whole need a whole new coaching staff and a new crop of players. He says Sanchez nor Ryan are the answer. He says you guys are right. They have been a total joke. What's your thoughts, man?
We said this last week. I told you my feelings about the quarterback situation, and I said that I think they're not going to dump Sanchez. They're going to keep Sanchez. He is not the answer, obviously, but because of that salary is an arbitrage around our neck, they're going to keep him, and they need some kind of veteran leadership there because, we also spoke about David Garrard. He's just an injury waiting to happen. So, Sanchez will be there, I believe, and Ryan. I said this last week. It's going to be his last year because no GM worth his weight in gold is going to keep a coach that's already there. They want to come in and they want to clean house and they want to run things the way they want to run things, and that's why you saw them draft Geno Smith. That wasn't Rex Ryan's call. I mean, he drafted Sanchez. I mean, it goes against what he did 4 years ago. That was John Idzik's call, and he needs the quarterback of his future. And at 39, and Smith was still there, they took a shot. It could be a value pick. So listen, I think both Sanchez and Ryan will be gone. by next year. But I think right now, there's been talk that, you're hearing whispers that, will Sanchez be there by June 1st? I still think he will be because, like I said, of that leadership factor. You need a veteran in there, as bad as he is, but you need a veteran in there to do some work because, like, Gerard is not going to last the whole season.
No, he's not. And we'll get into the NFL and the Jets and the Giants in a little bit later. But I got some thoughts on Sanchez and Geno Smith and everything we just touched on now. So let's jump into hockey. My boys and the Rangers are still hanging in there, both down a game, 3-2. They're down here in the series. The Rangers lost last night. Islanders are hanging in there. I don't know if you noticed, but the Sharks 4 games in a row to move ahead to get to the next level. I guess next level of the playoffs. The Nets lost. The Knicks are hanging in there. Well, before we get into the baskets, let's talk about the hockey. Do you think the Islanders are going to make it interesting? Do you think they're going to even it up? I think they play today, right? I think they.
Yeah, they're playing tonight at the Coliseum. The Coliseum is going to be rocking and stuff like that. But you know what? As much heart and desire that the Islanders are playing with, talent always, the cream of the crop always rises to the top, basically. And there's just too much talent on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Do they have a shot to push it to Game 7? Maybe, but I think Pittsburgh's going to want to close it out tonight, and I think that's what's going to happen. Even though they are playing at the Nassau Coliseum. Listen, nobody expected this from the Islanders. Nobody expected them to go this far, to actually maybe make the playoffs, and to let alone to get 2 wins from the mighty Pittsburgh Penguins. So, listen, kudos to the Islanders. They're a young team, and they're going to be around. They're going to get stronger as the years go on, and they'll be playing in Brooklyn soon enough, which is kind of exciting, I think. And again, it's just they're too young and just not as talented, but they will get there. But like I said, pushing the Penguins to 6 games, it's pretty impressive.
Well, they win tonight at home, and logic tells you the 7th game would be played Sunday night in Pittsburgh, right. And logic tells you that Pittsburgh would close it out. Let's say the Islanders make it exciting, which I think they're going to. I think they're going to pull the game out today. And tonight, and when they travel over to Pittsburgh tomorrow night, logic tells you that they don't have a chance in hell to beat the Penguins at home for Game 7. But I want to tell you something, Mikey, and I know you laughed at me and you're still chuckling under your breath because you probably know what I'm going to say. But if the Islanders win today, if they win tonight, I think that based on how they even got into the playoffs, with the exception of that little slide at the end of the season where they actually started playing hockey the way they were at the beginning of the shortened season. I actually think that they have the edge, even though they're playing in Pittsburgh. And the reason why I say this is because they would have that scrappy attitude that I love, that they could use as a war cry, so to speak, to bring them into Pittsburgh. And sometimes in the playoffs, we know that Pittsburgh has a better team on paper, but sometimes the emotional factor can carry a game. And I think if they can pull it off tonight, which is a big if, I think they got a good chance of advancing. Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy, but like I said, talent always wins out over, heart. You could have all the heart in the world. You can get into the ring with a fighter, Billy C, and have all the heart in the world and want to beat this guy up. But if the guy is super talented, you're gonna get your butt kicked. And not that the Islanders, I think they're gonna get their butt kicked tonight. I think it's gonna be an exciting game tonight. I like to see them pull it off and go to a Game 7. But I think like I said, cream always rises to the top, and that team is meaning Pittsburgh is loaded with talent. So I'd be surprised I still think Pittsburgh is going to just take care of it tonight, and they want to end it. Believe me, they don't want to go to a Game 7. So, but no, I don't think you're crazy. I think it's just a little wishful thinking on your part. But I mean, you can't deny talent. You just can't. When it comes to, and listen, Pittsburgh has heart too. They play tough. They don't want to extend this any more than they have to. And it showed the last game. They shut them out. They pulled, and that's another big thing is that we haven't talked about is that they pulled their goaltender Fleury, who has been awful. I mean, he has just let in shots that amateurs would let in. So they pull him. They put the backup in, and what's the backup do? He pulls a shutout, and I think he's beaten every time he's played the Islanders. He's beaten the Islanders. So that move really helped. And maybe if the guy was in from the beginning, it wouldn't have gone to 6 games because Fleury was just horrendous in the losses to New York. So that's another factor that we haven't discussed. So they'll have the backup goalie in there who was just on his ear in Game 5 and pulling the shutout. So that's another thing that the Islanders have going against them right now. They don't have Fleury in the net.
Well, the other thing too is they got a game and a shutout to review, So maybe they get better. Maybe it's like Neuenhouse. Remember with the Mets? I was like, this guy's great. I love him. And then everybody saw the film on him and got the numbers on him. And where is he now? So
exactly.
Talk about the other side of the hockey teams in New York. We got the Rangers, and you picked the Rangers, and most people picked the Rangers at the beginning of the short season here to do it all, to win the cup. And I think it's a team. I look at the two teams, and although again, logic tells me the Rangers are a better team, and paper tells me the Rangers are a better team. But at times, to me, it looks like the Islanders play better hockey when the game starts, and I think that was kind of an evident call, even though they lost. I think that was evident in last night's game. The Rangers looked flat, and they got to fight. They got to play again on tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, here's a team that scored 8 goals at Madison Square Garden, won both games at Madison Square Garden, but just hasn't been able to score on the road. Game 1, they scored 1 goal. Game 2 was an overtime game. They were shut out. Last night's game, they scored 1 goal. I mean, they have no offense in Washington for whatever reason that may be. Don't know. I mean, they're playing hard. It's just not getting the opportunities that they did when they played in Madison Square Garden. I mean, there was a stretch last night between the first and second period. It was like 19 minutes where they had only 4 shots on goal. And then in the third period, the first 17 minutes and 49 seconds, they had 1 shot. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And you got guys on here that you brought in, like, superstars like Rick Nash, and he has just been a non-factor. Richards, another guy, just a non-factor. And Lundqvist, he did what he can to keep this team in the game. He had 33 saves. It shouldn't have gone to overtime. He played an amazing game in goal last night. Actually, I watched the game, and it was. I told you I'm not a fan of during the season, but I can watch playoff hockey, and it's exciting. And it was an exciting game. I'm rooting for. I'm not a Ranger fan, so I'm rooting for Washington. But if the Rangers don't, get past the first round in the playoffs, I mean, it's just a debacle. And you're going to see a lot of changes over at Madison Square Garden. I think the first change will be the coach. Tortorella will be gone.
Yeah, but how can you really start pointing fingers? I know they've made the signing.
Well, he's an idiot.
No, I know, but
let's face facts. He's an ass.
Yeah,
Tortorella.
But the point is that it's really hard to blame players, blame coaches, and stuff like that when you have a season that went through what this year's NHL season went through. I mean, we could say on paper and the shortened season favors the Rangers, and they made the moves to be, champions and stuff, and it didn't work out in the first year. It would be a tough year to exercise the blame. That's all I'm saying, And trust me, I can't stand the Rangers, so I don't really care. But I'm just glad my Sharks over in the West shut out Vancouver, and we'll see what happens with the next round. Quick thoughts. A, will the Rangers advance? And B, will the Islanders advance? What's your thoughts for the New York hockey teams?
Well, no, I mean, the Islanders, no. I like I said, there's just too much talent on Pittsburgh, and I think that series will end tonight. Will the Rangers advance? The way it looks, no, because if the Rangers advance, that means they're going to have to win a Game 7 on the road, and that's something that the Rangers have never done before. So therein lies the problem. I'm not pointing fingers at players per se, but I am pointing a finger at John Tortorella. I just think that there's coaches that players play for and coaches that players can't stand and just don't play as well for. And I'll give you an example.
Bobby Valentine and the Red Sox.
No, well, yeah, I mean that's a great example. I wasn't what I was going to say, but that's case in point. Bobby Valentine and the Red Sox. I was going to say Mike Singletary, when he coached the 49ers, they were terrible. In comes Harbaugh, and he takes them to the playoffs. And it wasn't like there was this tremendous roster change. He had Alex Smith. Both of them had Alex Smith, but Harbaugh, is just a better head coach, and that's just the bottom line. I mean, you get a coach that you don't like, you're not going to put 110% in. And I see that with Tortorella. Plus, he's just an ass with the media. I can't stand the guy.
Well, you heard it here first. Mike, Brooklyn Mikey's picking both the Rangers and the Islanders to go down. So we won't be talking hockey next week, it looks like. So, all right, let's talk a little hoops. The Nets, we all know they didn't advance. They didn't get out of it. But the Knicks are still in there. And a lot of experts say they're in trouble. The series is tied right now. I believe it's tied 1-1, right? Isn't it even?
I didn't hear what you said before. After the Nets, which series are you talking about?
The Knicks. The Nets are gone, but the Knicks and the Pacers. Yeah. The Knicks advanced. Now they're tied with the Pacers, one game apiece, I think, right?
Yes, one game apiece, and tonight they're playing at Indiana.
And most people are saying that the Knicks are in some serious trouble. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with that, or I mean, you look at the way the numbers are right now. I mean, it's even. How can they be deemed in trouble? I know pretty much everyone was saying that after game 1, but the series is tied right now, 1-1.
Yeah, I don't know why people think they're in trouble. I think that they play this team well. They use speed. They play a smaller game. When they play this team, they'll use Carmelo at small forward. They'll use 2 point guards at the same time, and speed kills. And that's look at game 2. I mean, 105-79, and they played tremendous defense from start to finish. That's another thing with the Knicks is that you can't play your defense in spurts. Especially with a team against Indiana. It's a big physical team. It's got to be consistent. And because the Knicks are faster, you can defend a slower team. So if the Knicks keep this up, I don't see them in trouble. They can definitely get by Indiana. The other thing is they get Amari Stoudemire back tonight. Now, the fanatic Knicks fans are all concerned. Oh no, he's going to break the chemistry. Blah blah blah. I've been hearing this over and over. No, there are ways to use Amari. You use him. He'll probably play 10 to 15 minutes. You can play him. Substitute him for Carmelo at times. Basically, if you keep him off the court when Carmelo is there, that's probably the best bet. And keep in mind that you need another scorer, besides J.R. Smith, because J.R. Smith, he's been so inconsistent. He either has a great game or he just throws up bricks. And the past 2 games, he's been horrendous. So you do need some scoring. It'd be nice to have a size up front as well. So I think Amari coming back, if he's played correctly and put in the game time the way he should be put in, then I think it's going to help the Knicks. And I see them getting by Indiana. I don't see this game, this series going to 7. I see it maybe going to 6. The big problem, obviously, after Indiana is Miami, assuming they get by Chicago, which I'm sure they will. They're up 2-1. That's the problem. That's the problem with every NBA team is how do you beat Miami Heat?
I don't think the Knicks are going to get past Indiana. I think,
Really?
I don't. I just think, especially the next two games are in Indiana. I think that's going to hurt the Knicks. They get to come back to New York after that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I have a feeling the Knicks are going to be their run is going to end here. As far as the Heat and the Bulls. I almost called my friendly neighborhood bookie and put money on the Bulls for game one. I just had a feeling that they were going to win a game because of all the rest that the Heat had. And it's not surprising. It means nothing. And I agree with you. The Heat, they came back and demolished the Bulls in the second game. But the one thing that I really respect about the Chicago Bulls is their defense. And I know that they're known for that, but they put pressure on any team regardless of the talent level, and I think Game 1 was an indication of that. Even though the Heat, was a little rusty, man. They had what, 7-8 weeks off or what?
Yeah. Well, they swept Milwaukee in 4 games, and Chicago, even with all their injuries, took 7 games to beat Brooklyn. So it's not surprising, like you said. Teams, sometimes the layoff hurts. And, they came out Game 1, beat Miami. But, what happened in Game 2? Miami 115, Chicago 78.
That's
back to timeout.
Exactly.
You're playing the Miami Heat here.
Exactly.
All right?
Timeout.
Timeout.
It's funny. I think I heard somewhere, and I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but that's what you're here for. I think the Miami Heat was the first team since the merger to actually get a week's rest during the playoffs. There's been teams that have gotten that rest waiting to, start the playoffs, but during the playoffs, I believe the Heat was the first team to have a week's rest or more. Is that correct?
Well, no, I don't know why that'd be correct, because they beat, like I said, they beat Milwaukee in 4 games, and there have been other teams that have swept the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, but
why would that be any different?
Well, because I think that it was the length of time that they had to wait to find out if they were playing Brooklyn or Chicago. Remember, that game went 7. I'm pretty sure. So you look that up and you can verify. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard somewhere, that they were the first team that got to rest during the playoffs. That was the key word, during the playoffs. With an excess rest period, not just a day or two. It was 5. It was a week. It was a week.
Yeah, right? It was definitely a week. But I don't know if that is some kind of record. I'm not sure about that.
All right. What about the West? My Golden State team is still hanging in there. Be as it may, by a thread. And Oklahoma City is beaten. They're even with your boys. Your sleeper team that's still hanging in there.
Yeah, Memphis. I think Memphis beats Oklahoma City, man. I think they're going to go down. It's going to be Memphis and San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. I really do. I said it from the beginning. That's my sleeper team. I like that team, and they're playing well. And don't forget, Oklahoma City does not have Russell Westbrook. He is out,
right?
And that's a big part of their team right there. So. You hate to see, you like to see, teams play at full strength in the playoffs. Your best first, my best. But unfortunately, he tore his knee up, and he's out. So, like I said, it's going to be. I like Memphis to beat Oklahoma City.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm still pulling for the Golden State Warriors. So we'll see what happens. I'd like to, all roads are going to take you to Miami anyway. So we'll see what happens. But I know you wanted to talk a little and gloat about your Mayweather pick over Robert Guerrero last weekend. Great fight. If you like Floyd Mayweather, I actually thought it was entertaining for the first couple of rounds. And then I actually enjoyed watching Floyd Mayweather, even though I absolutely can't stand him. But I thought he looked sharp. He doesn't look. Let me put it this way, Mikey. I don't think there's a fighter right now that conceivably, fight in Floyd Mayweather's weight class, whatever weight class he decides to fight in, that can beat him. I don't see any fighters out there now, including Saul Alvarez, which they are actively discussing for September.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I didn't feel that Guerrero was going to give him really any threat. I never felt that Floyd would be in danger in fighting Guerrero. I've said that to you when they first announced the fight. You said
at the post-fight show. You called in. Everybody knows. Everybody knows you were right.
I mean, listen. I can't stand Floyd as much as you, and there's nothing more in this world that would make me happy to see him get beat in the ring. But there are times when you think more with your heart. I think.
Yeah, I'm a Jet fan. I'm a Jet fan. So what about you? Don't be throwing rocks at me.
I just try to put that to the side and say, well, let me be fair here. And I even asked you, I said, what tools does the possess that's going to knock this guy out? None.
Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you where he failed me and himself. And this is why I thought that Robert Guerrero had a shot. Never did I think that his skill was even on par with Floyd's. Right. But I thought that and what's been demonstrated to us in the past with Robert Guerrero is his ability to make adjustments during a fight. I've seen him do it many times, and I thought that he would be able to make some adjustments to be competitive with Floyd. He failed to do that. His father failed to do that. They both failed to do that. And their answer at the end of the fight was, well, he was a chicken. This was Robert Guerrero's father says he was a chicken. All he did was run all night long. And that's nonsense. Well, he did, if by definition, if you look at it that way. But here's my thought: as much as I hate Floyd, I say this: it's Floyd's baseball. He gets to pitch. We know what Floyd wants to do. It was up to Robert Guerrero and his team to get Floyd to do what they wanted. You can't expect to go in and fight arguably the pound-for-pound top fighter in the world today and have him fight your fight. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So I have to blame Team Guerrero 100%. Floyd gets the attaboy. I got a lot of calls and emails from listeners that thought the fight was boring. I can understand it. And my only knock on Floyd, and really I only had one, and that's I felt that he should throw more punches. He's throwing 1 and 2 punch combinations and getting on his bicycle. I would have liked to have seen him throw 3 and 4 punch combinations and get on his bicycle, similar to what we saw from Guillermo Rigondeaux several weeks ago when he fought Nonito Donaire in New York. So aside from that, hey, what can you say? The guy was off for 18 months, and he looked great.
He looked better in this fight than he did in the Cotto fight, and obviously he got hit a hell of a lot less in this fight. And he said he was going to do that. He said he watched that fight, and he got hit way too much, and he was going to correct that, and he did. He looked younger than he did a year ago. And like I said, kudos to him. And I saw Robert's father telling throw the uppercut, but Floyd takes the things away from you. He takes whatever you do well. He takes that away, and he did it to Guerrero.
Well,
he took away the aggressiveness.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I love the refereeing job. Robert Byrd did a great job. Let them fight. And another subtle thing that Floyd was doing that really stymied Robert Guerrero was the fact that when they got in close, and we've all seen other referees choose to break them up for Floyd, Robert Byrd did not do that. But what Floyd did to compensate that was he immediately latched on to Robert Guerrero's left hand, which is his power hand. And it pretty much nullified any damage that Robert Guerrero could do in those clinches. And again, they didn't make the adjustment. Listen, there's really, aside from that, and aside from saying, I wish he threw more punches, like I said, those are just nitpick in comments. The bottom line is he fought a perfect fight, and as a result, he's moved back into my number one pound for pound ranking, and I've also went as far as saying I don't see anybody beating him. I really don't. For his now, I feel he will fulfill the 6 fights, he is going to fight, people that he's going to make look silly. And we don't have anybody that's going to give him a shot. Maybe somebody's going to get lucky, but I doubt it, man. I say the guy retires 50-0.
Who is there that's going to give him any kind of threat? I mean, I told you from the beginning, my feeling was that I thought Guerrero would be an easier fight for him than Alvarez, only because of the size factor. And I think that, he fought Cotto at 154. Don't forget, Cotto started his career much lighter than that. But Alvarez started his career at 154. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's naturally just a bigger person. So, I mean, Alvarez, 10 years from now is going to be fighting at the super middleweight probably. I mean, but, Cotto was a smaller guy who just, gradually moved up because he got older and just, couldn't make the weight. So, yeah, and he ended up at 154. I think that because of Canelo's size and he's just naturally that much bigger, I think he's going to give him more trouble. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think that's going to be more trouble for Floyd than a guy like Guerrero, who was basically fought most of his career at featherweight, moving up to 147. So that's why I just never saw it in Guerrero. But besides Canelo, who else? You know who I would love to see him fight? And I think this. I know it's not going to happen. But if Adrian Broner beats Paulie for his 147-pound belt, I'd like to see the two of them get into the ring. So I know somebody's coming out, with a 0, with a loss.
Well, I tell you right now that if Broner looks good against Paulie Malignaggi, that will be a fight that everybody's going to want to see. I mean, I see that fight happening. I do. I see that fight happening. That's an ego fight for Floyd Mayweather. Don't even make a mistake about that. That's an ego fight for Floyd. And I wouldn't be surprised if Floyd fights Sergio, because Sergio's ready for the taking right now.
Now he is. Yeah. If you would have fought him 2 years ago, no. But you know how Floyd works. I mean, he knows. Not only, what the opponent has that he can take away, but he also knows, time-wise, okay, now it's the time to fight him, because I don't want to hear that nonsense, I don't watch tapes of people. Yes, you do, because you know exactly when when the person is right for the picking. And after watching Martinez's last couple of fights, he's definitely ripe for Floyd to beat.
It looks that way, and you make an interesting point, because Marty Mulcahy was on the show on Friday, and he said that he thinks that Floyd will fight Saul Alvarez next because of just that reason. He says we all noticed that Canelo Alvarez is getting better and better each time out. So Floyd, being smart and being proficient in knowing the fighters of today, he may not be a knowledgeable guy historically, but the fighters of today he knows. And he also sees that Canelo's getting better, so maybe now is the time for Canelo. If he drags it on a little longer, he's going to be older, Canelo's going to be better, maybe he doesn't have the chance. I think that he will get that fight with Saul Alvarez sooner than later. Then he's got Amir Khan. And I also believe that there's a lot of rumor that Manny Pacquiao is not going to re-up with Bob Arum. I thought he already had. I guess it wasn't that long. I think he has a chance to walk away next year. And if he did, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end, when the smoke clears, as Floyd's last fight of that 6-fight deal with Showtime, that he and Manny don't finally get into the ring. I mean, what a swan song that would be for both their careers. But anyway, that's boxing. Was there another match that you wanted to talk about? You
brought up Manny. He's set to fight Brandon Rios. I mean, they Mike Alvarado beats Rios, and then they decide to bypass Mike and sign with Brandon. And I guess for the obvious reason that Brandon, a matchup of Brandon Rios would be more exciting fight, a more toe-to-toe battle where Brandon only has one style of fighting, and Mike, as you saw in his last fight, he could change his game plan and box more. And, he'd be very cautious against Pacquiao. But Brandon doesn't care. To him, it's balls to the wall. And, he's going to fight Manny the way he fights everybody else.
I like the fight. I've been getting 50-50 comments from the viewers and listeners. Some people like it, some people don't. The Floyd fans are saying that Bam Bam Rios is cherry-picked opponent for Manny Pacquiao. They've even suggested that the reason why Pacquiao's picking him is because he's coming off a loss and all this crazy stuff. I like the fight. I don't think it's an easy fight for Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's coming off of 2 losses, so I don't know. I like the fight. I have a poll question up this week, and that exact question was, do you like the fight? And it's almost dead even right now. Last time
how could you not like the fight? Because styles make fights, and these 2 guys are going to go, toe to toe. I mean, how could you not like that?
Well, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, what do people? I mean, they don't like it because they think Manny's just going to dominate this kid. I mean, why would you not like a fight where 2 fighters who have similar styles and who are very offensive minded are getting into the ring with each other? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is an entertaining fight.
Hey, listen, I agree with you. It's going to be in, I believe, in China. It's going to be big money. I like the fight, and we'll see what happens with that. Listen, it's just boxing is becoming divided big time between the promoters, now the networks, now the sanctioning bodies. We're going to see a landscape change in the sport of boxing more than we ever have over the next couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see how the fallout, what the result is. But let's talk a little baseball, bro. We were talking a little earlier about Matt Harvey. I love the kid, man. I felt so bad for him the other night. He pitches almost a perfect game. They take the guy out in the 9th inning, tied 0-0. I believe it was the 9th or maybe the bottom of the 8th. Yep. And he ends up, Parnell, your favorite boy, ends up getting the win. How disheartening is that for Matt Harvey, who pretty much, and we saw that too sometimes with Pedro Martinez and even Doc Gooden. I mean, it goes back, sometimes the Mets have traditionally, for their ace pitcher, all of a sudden the bats fall asleep and they really lean on that pitcher. And I hope that's not going to be a continuing trend with the Mets when Harvey pitches, because if they give this guy a little bat support, he's going to have a phenomenal season.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, I think he leads the league in no decisions already. I mean, the guy should be like 7-1 or 8-0, and he's 4-0, but he's got that tremendous 1.28 ERA. He's a damn good pitcher. And the Mets took their time with bringing this guy up, because everybody's screaming from the rafters right now. When you bringing up Wheeler? When you bringing up Wheeler?
Well, they're saying that they're gonna.
No, they're going to do it, and it's past May 1st, and they have that extra year of arbitration, and they, the business-wise, they did what, the smart decision was to keep him down there, and he's pitched well his last 2 games, and I think right now it's not a question of money, because, like I said, they passed that point. Right now it's just a question of let's see 2 more solid performances. There's no reason to rush things, because the Mets aren't going anywhere. So let's see 2 more solid performances in AAA, and I'm gonna say by mid-June. I know people are saying, "Oh, June 1st, June." No. I'm gonna say by mid-June, you're gonna see Wheeler and Harvey pitching on the same team.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the rest of the pitching staff sucks. I mean, you wait every 5 games for them to be competitive when Harvey pitches. I mean, Neese isn't bad, but he's either bad or good. I mean, there's no in between with him. The guy from last night, I don't think he's fully healed. I thought he was a bad move to begin with.
Markham, he definitely rushed through rehab, as far as I'm concerned, because he just knew that the Mets needed some help, and I don't think he's gotten past 5 innings yet. So
no, they don't even let it. I think they keep his pitch count to 80 or something crazy. I mean, what's the point? Why would you? I don't understand the philosophy, Mike, because we know. Forget that we're building for next year. I don't want to hear that come out of anybody's mouth. All right, but that the bullpen is arguably the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball, and yet you put them in a position to carry the team or sink the team. I mean, how many times, I don't have the stats in front of me, but how many times already this season has the bullpen blown a game for the Mets? I mean, I've lost count. I know that I got to take my socks and shoes off, right? Because
it's usually the middle relief that's doing it too.
Because
actually Parnell. Listen, let's give credit where credit is due. I've never been a fan of Parnell, but whatever he's doing right now, don't mess with it, because he's got, he's been saving games. I think he's only missed one save. He's got a low ERA.
He's 3-0. He's 3-0 too, right?
Yeah, I mean, so he's playing well. So I can't blame Bobby Parnell. But yeah, you're right. The middle relief, it's just all. It's so hard to build a bullpen, and it's just dreadful.
The Mets.
Really
I was watching a game. I think it was last week. I think it was last Saturday. It might have been last Saturday after our show, or maybe it was Sunday. I'm watching a game. The Mets are up. The Mets were up. I think 2 or 3 runs, and it was like the 7th inning or something. And the starting pitcher, I think it was Nice. I think it was Nice's last start, and he gave up. I think back-to-back hits or something like that, and they take him out. Right? They take him out. And he was pissed. He was pissed. There was 2 outs, and they take him out. He gives up back-to-back hits, 2 outs. They're up by 2 runs or 3 runs. No, they were up by 3 runs. It was 5-2. And the reliever comes jogging out. It was like batting practice, Mike. I mean, bam, bam, bam. Next thing you know, it was 7-5. They ended up losing that game 9-5. You know the game I'm talking about,
Yeah.
And it was just it was pathetic. And you look at Matt Harvey, is the only pitcher, I think, on the Mets starting staff in the starting rotation that's gone over 8 innings. They don't even they think that if they're high-flying if they can go 6. And then who do we put the ball in the hands of? Our bullpen. That sucks. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. I know they only have what they have, but I'm so much more the guy that would take those young kids and rather lose with them than the staff of jabronis we got right now. Really, it's terrible. And I'm not blaming Nice. I happen to like Nice, and I also like Guy. But I don't know, man.
I mean, you're comparing apples and oranges when you're comparing Harvey with everybody else. He is without a doubt the only, decent pitcher on New York. I mean, Jonathan Nice, is he a number 2? No, not on
He's
most
probably number 4.
He's a number, maybe a 3, 4,
yeah,
definitely.
4,
but
4.
It's bad. And yeah, we've talked about Sandy Alderson's plan of 2014, and that's the year it's quote unquote his team. And well, you know what? He's got a lot of work to do still, because you bring up Wheeler, and let's say he pitches like Harvey. And that's a great 1-2 combination, right? Again, you're talking about the bullpen. It's just been dreadful, and you're talking about the hitting as well. It's just non-existent at times. And then I look at the free agent list coming up for next year. I mean, our outfield is atrocious, and we said this from the beginning that it's going to be terrible, and it has. But you look at the picture, the free agents on the horizon for next year. I mean, who are the Mets going to go out and get? I mean, Beltran? No, been there, done that. Granderson? I mean, the Yankees won't sign him because the Yankees are going to get under $189 million cap next year. So you sign Granderson? No, they're not going to pay that kind of money for Granderson. So where are all these pieces of the puzzle coming from? If it's not free agent, we're going to trade. Who are you going to trade? Wheeler? No, you can't do that. They got so many problems, and just it's like the little Dutch boy putting his finger in the dam. Sooner or later, it's just going to explode.
Well, listen, man, you were the one that was giving these guys some credit. You sound like me now, because I laughed when he kept saying 2014, 20. You're right. There's no magic fix for the Mets, and I like the youth movement, but I say go for the youth movement. Let's look at the East right now, and the Mets are in the basement, sort of. They're not all the way in the basement like Miami. They're 6 games out.
Yeah,
yeah. You're all of a sudden you're breaking up really bad. Let me try and get you back here. Yeah, they're not all the way in the basement. That's for sure. But they're the same. They're out of the first place of. I thought it was it's 6 games. I don't know. He's saying 5.5, but same as the Philadelphia Phillies. So I mean, if you look at it that way, they still have some kind of a chance. I would think, but we'll have to wait and see there. And then you look over on the other side of the state or city, I should say. And of course, Mike is. We're gonna have to restart Mikey because we're having some technical difficulties. Imagine that with the phone system. Imagine that. But the bottom line is, before we get into the Yankees, I don't want to leave Mike out of this. But the Mets, I've said all along, if you're gonna talk about building a team and going with a youth movement and all of the crock of baloney that we've heard. Well, then you know what you need to sink or swim. If you're going to go youth, go youth. Bring in the young pitchers, bring in the young fielders, bring them in. Now's the time. You got your nucleus, you got your core players. You think Tejada, David Wright, they're going to be your 2 infielders, I would think. I don't know what they got going on for first and second. I don't think. I don't think Davis and Murphy are the answer for the Mets, but we have no outfield, so that's even another concern. So what's wrong with, like Mike says, they're not going anywhere. And you could look at this in 2 ways. Number one, you could say, well, you're 5.5, 6 games out of first place right now, same as the Phillies, who were, one of the top favorites to win the division. You're not out of the race yet. I mean, we're not even at the All-Star break. We're not even close to the All-Star break yet. And you're a couple of series, one sweep and a couple of 2 out of 3 series to get right back in the mix. Plus, of course, if you beat Atlanta, which doesn't seem likely, you could get back in the mix. So I mean, if I'm the Mets brass, I'm not so sure. Especially if you're saying that you're going to build a team for 2014. What's wrong with being competitive now? So with that said, maybe there is a couple of spots that they can tweak. Maybe they should focus on trying to pick up some relievers or bring in some AAA players to pitch. To try to stop the dam from leaking, like Mikey used the analogy before. Get some help pitching wise. The bats. Listen, the bats are the bats. If you have decent pitching and you score 3-4 runs like we generally do, you can win games like that. If your pitching isn't giving up 8 and 9 like we are, So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a competitor, and I don't want to pack it in. I don't want to throw in the towel on the season yet. If we were the Marlins and you were double digits out at this point in the season, and there was nothing looking good, you started getting stocking up on injuries and stuff like that, then I would totally look beyond the season and totally focus on 2014. But as of now, being 5.5, 6 games out of first place, realistically, and at least in my opinion, maybe try to fix it. Maybe try to fix it a little bit. I don't know, man. I don't know how much of that you were catching. I had to reboot the whole damn thing. But my bottom line, Mikey, is this: the Mets, they're not out of the woods yet. Why not try to fix a couple of these leaks now? Maybe try to get some relief pitching and see if you can be competitive. I don't know, man.
Excuse me, because that's their MO, is to, they're not spending. And while they have guys like Santana under contract making, $25+ million this year, they're not going to spend money. And we talked about this last year when they actually played well up until the All-Star break. And we said the same thing. You're playing well now. Why do we have to wait for, 3 weeks after for you to make a decision on what to do? Why can't we get some help? And what happened? Same thing that happens every All-Star break is that they don't play well second half of the season. So there is no answer to this. I mean, it just seems that they're going to ride the ship the way they said they're going to do, and that wait until 2014, wait till some salaries come off the come off the table, and they're going to have to pick up some kind of free agents. And I'm actually looking right now. I wouldn't mind making a bid for Jacoby Ellsbury. I wouldn't mind making a bid for Nate McLouth of the Orioles. I mean, there are a couple of guys that realistically the Mets can afford. I mean, McLouth is only making $2 million this year, but he's a legitimate major leaguer. We got Neuenhuis, who's awful. Duda. I mean, we don't have anybody in the outfield that's really, in my eyes, a legitimate major league outfielder.
Well, all I could say is this. You want to hide behind 2014, and I don't mean you, I mean the Mets team. Then, damn it, yeah, come 2014, we better see a competitive team, because if we see the same thing we got this year, it's not good. First of all, the Mets, it's sickening to talk about the Mets and the Jets. I mean, it really is. Let's talk about the Yankees a little bit, even though I can't stand them. Let's talk a little bit about the Yankees. The Yankees seem to be quietly, which is uncharacteristic of them, they're quietly staying very competitive. I keep hearing about the Red Sox. Red Sox win again. Red Sox win again. Red Sox win again. And you look at the standings, and the Yankees are half a game out, 1.5 games out, or whatever it is, and they keep winning quietly too, and they're not even at full strength. The damn Yankees, those damn Yankees, they're going to be there. Those bastards are going to be there at the end. You watch.
Yeah, I mean, let's give credit to Joe Girardi and to Brian Cashman. Both have done an exceptional job this year. The fact, I mean, look, they're tied for first place. And last week, Boston was in first. Boston has had a bad, last 10 games. They've been under 500, 4-6. And the Yankees, like you said, quietly, slowly but surely, are just, consistently, winning series. And this is with, a DL that looks like an all-star team. Youkilis, Teixeira, Granderson, Jeter, Rodriguez, Chamberlain, Nova,
oh, man.
You're
Cervelli.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys are injured. And yet, guys like, especially Overbay. I mean, here's a guy who was cut, and, when somebody's cut, you figured if no one's picking him up, you figure, that's it. He's done. And he's had so many big hits for the Yankees. He's got 6 home runs. He's played a solid first base. What a pickup, It didn't cost him a lot. How come we can't pick up guys like this? I mean, I can understand Vernon Wells because he's getting paid like $13 million. It's some crazy amount of money. But is he playing up to his contract? No. But is he doing enough? Is he doing what the Yankees need him to do? Yeah, he is. If he was making $2 million, it'd be just steal of a century. But he is also stepping up and doing the things that the Yankees are asking him to do while these players are on the DL. So Cashman has picked the right guys. Girardi has inserted them in the right spots, in the right positions to win, and they've done an incredible job. And they're going to be up there. I mean, all this whole American League East is going to be between the Yankees and again, look at Baltimore. That's another team. They're slowly but surely they're 7-3 their last 10 games. Here comes Showalter. And then the Orioles. And we don't know what kind of moves these teams are going to make, before the trade deadlines, before the All-Star break or right after the All-Star break. They're gonna make moves as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I didn't think the Yankees would be in this position. I thought they'd be struggling in third place. But from what I'm seeing and from how things project to be, at least these 3 teams should be battling it out. Toronto, look, we said before, a team on paper does not win a division. And I said, the team has to have chemistry. I said, basically, they're the Marlins of the North now. and exactly what's happening. They're terrible. They're 13-24. They're not going anywhere. Tampa is still hanging around. They're going to be there because of the strong pitching. Obviously, they're going to have to acquire a bat during the season, but they're going to hang around, and they're 4.5 out, and they'll be in the mix. But it's going to be between those three teams: the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Red Sox, that are just going to keep battling, and see who comes out on top in September.
Well, you poo-pooed the Baltimore Orioles. I said nay, and they are in the mix. But, the Central is a division that's actually the most exciting, in my opinion, because they're all around the same level, it seems, the teams. Even Chicago, who's in last place in the Central, in the AL, they're a tough team, and I'm not counting them out yet. So I think the excitement is going to come from the Central. As the season goes on. But let's talk a little football. Before we get into the football, I should have said this when we were talking a little bit about boxing, but Mike Tyson, he's got a New York connection, so I feel comfortable about talking about my man Mike Tyson at any time. But it was announced yesterday that they're going to be doing a cartoon about him. Did you catch this?
No.
Mike Tyson.
No, I did not.
Mike Tyson. Starting, I think it's going to be released at either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. It's going to be a weekly cartoon, where Mike Tyson is going to be playing like a detective. Like, it's going to be Mike Tyson, a cartoon version of Mike Tyson, and he's going to have, he's doing the voice and stuff, and he's got his assistant, which is going to be a wisecracking. What do you suppose his assistant's going to be? Like a wise ass, always going to be coming up with wise ass comments and stuff like that. Who do you think his assistant's going to be?
Well, it should be you, but because it's your description. But who is it?
A pigeon.
Are you serious?
Mike Tyson is always. Everybody knows he's into pigeons. They had the show and stuff.
Right.
So the characters are going to be Mike Tyson as playing some kind of a detective, and his sidekick's going to be a pigeon, and a talking pigeon, all animated, and it's going to be coming out next year. It ought to be interesting, man. It ought to be interesting. Well,
it's going to be, on American television, or is this something they're doing overseas?
No, it's American. It's called Mike Tyson Mysteries. It's done. It's a deal. It's they already have it. It's going to kick off the airways next year, I guess. We'll see.
And it's going to be like a Saturday morning kind of cartoon.
Yeah, yeah. They call it a wisecracking, foul-mouthed pigeon.
Oh my God!
I can't wait to see it. I honestly can't wait.
We've come a long way from
Bugs Bunny,
Scooby-Doo and Bugs Bunny, haven't we?
Bugs Bunny's the man, But who knows?
Man.
We might be talking about Mike Tyson's cartoon someday. But anyway, let's talk a little football. Again, let's just touch on the Giants. There's not much to say about the Giants. The Giants are quietly doing all the right things. They even picked up a linebacker that was cast off by everybody else. You watch, he's going to do fine with the Giants. I can't even think of his name right now. Who was
Aaron
it?
Curry.
Yeah, Aaron Curry. You watch, he's going to do fine with the Giants. The Giants did all the right moves, in my opinion. They didn't get the accolades of the draft, but they drafted for need. They filled some holes. They had priority in where priority should be on both sides of the ball, lines on both sides. They secured their backup quarterback, and they possibly have a quarterback of the future in the draft. So, you know what? I think the Giants deserve an attaboy, 100%. But then you have the other New York team. Well, before we get to the Jets, what's your thoughts on what I said about the Giants?
Well, let's talk about Aaron Curry. Is that here's a guy that was actually drafted number 4 overall in 2009. You're talking about underachiever. He also, be fair, he did have some knee problems as well. But like we always say, sometimes a change of scenery does a player good. I mean, we had Aaron Mabin, who was cast off by Buffalo, and we took him on 2 years ago and actually played well for the Jets. So
couldn't have played that well. They got rid of him.
Because it was a year, 1 year, and he played well. Then after that, he wasn't playing well again. So Listen, what's it cost the Giants? They signed him for 1 year, minimal amount of money. Why not take the risk and pick him up? I mean, if he can, be half the guy that he was projected to be, he'll be fine. He'll be solid. He's just got to work. He's a little heavy. He's got to work on his weight. He's got to get that down. But we're talking May, so we're not even close to playing preseason games yet.
No, and this was my point. Why I brought it up. They make smart business moves, and it's usually a smart player personnel move. And that's something that you can't say in the same sentence with the Jets. If they make a smart player personnel move, they're making a stupid business move. If they're making a smart business move, they're making a stupid move with the player. So the Giants have a knack for making the right move from both arenas, which makes a big difference in my opinion. And talking about the Jets, Geno Smith was unveiled at his first mini camp. He was throwing a ball around yesterday, and basically, he got mixed reactions. He's under the gun. He's under scrutiny. There was a couple of things that I got a kick out of. And again, we talking about making the right player, business move and player move. Well, Smith was quoted as saying that his main objective was to learn the offense under coordinator Marty Moringweg and the West Coast system, because he's not used to that. And he has to learn how to take the snap from behind center, which, here's the kicker. In college, he could count on both hands how many times he took a snap from the center. Every other time he took a snap at West Virginia was in the shotgun. And so what did the Jets do? They draft him and decide to change him and stick him under center. Right off the bat, I see an issue. What do you think?
Surprise you?
No, and it's
yeah,
sickening. Exactly. It's sickening, to be honest with you. And they're saying that he's got some good velocity. This is after one practice, so let's keep this in mind. After one practice, he's got good velocity, but he holds the ball too long. He's not that accurate. He's not this. He's not that. I mean, they're slicing him to ribbons. And oh, by the way, he's a diva. And Rex Ryan says, I don't know what a diva is. Come on, man. What are you kidding? You have a team full of divas. You don't know what they are. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, let's first address this Geno Smith. Yeah, you're right. Most of his snaps, 90% of his snaps from West Virginia were from the shotgun formation. So, listen, I think Morningweg is not going to run to quote unquote traditional by the book West Coast offense. I think they're going to utilize, the talent that they picked up in Goodson and Chris Ivory. He'll open it up. I think he's going to be, open to new ideas. As he's not, your strict, here's the West Coast offense. You either do it or you don't. He's going to work with the talent that what he has. I mean, he's not a dumb guy.
Is no talent.
As an offensive coordinator, he's had success over the years, and he's offensive coordinator for some fantastic quarterbacks: Steve Young, McNabb, Garcia. I mean, the guy's not an idiot when it comes to being an offensive coordinator. Head coaching, that's a different story. So I think he's going to work with the talent that he has. Let's see. I mean, number one, I don't think Smith is going to be the opening day quarterback. So let's put that to rest. There's no reason to throw him to the wolves. I think, like I said, this is John Isaac's pick for his future quarterback once they get rid of Sanchez. So there's no reason to put him in with that offensive line, which has been shaky at best the last couple of years. So, he took 20 of 25 from under center yesterday. He was 6 of 10 in 11-on-11 drills. And like you said, it's New York. Media's going to, pick apart, why did he eat mashed potatoes, not string beans? I mean, it's just, come on, it's New York.
Yeah.
So, he's under the microscope. And, he has velocity, but he stands in the pocket too long. I got a quarterback right now who stands in the pocket too long, and he's been playing for 4 years. So I don't want to hear it after his first rookie mini camp. It's nonsense. And as far as being a diva, look, you could say what you want. I like to see what the person does. I'm not going to say, oh, back in 1995 he did that. I don't care about that stuff. I want to, I give a person a chance. Like when John Izzik came here, everybody's like, oh, it's Rex Ryan still the boss, this, that, and the other thing. You know what? Wait, let's see what Izzik does. And Izzik has been pulling the strings. Trust me. This has not been Rex Ryan's team. So if it was Rex Ryan's team, Geno Smith wouldn't be here in the second round. So let's just wait. Let's not get crazy. Regardless of what happens, we know this is going to be a tough year as a Jet fan. However, like I said, I do like our running back situation a lot more than I did last year. There's no doubt about it.
You're saying that for one guy, Chris Ivory?
No, I'm saying it for two guys. I'm saying it for three guys. Number one, I'm saying it for Chris Ivory. I know what Chris Ivory can do. Okay. And, number two, Goodson. He was a good fill-in when McFadden went down. Okay, is he on the same level as McFadden? No, but he's a good fill-in. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And if you're going to do this West Coast offense, who do we have to catch out the ball out of the backfield last year?
Who do we have to catch the ball off the line?
Well, let's think of what we're talking about, the running game.
All right, but I mean,
let's talk about the running game.
But
first.
It's comical.
I know we have no receivers as of now. But,
Listen,
I mean,
dude.
At least I think the running game has improved. And for any quarterback in the Jets organization to succeed, they're going to need help in the running game because, like you just said, like you alluded to, who are you going to throw the ball to off the line? There's nobody.
Listen, a good it's the same thing in boxing, all right, and in all sports. Good teams or good fighters or good baseball players, good football players, whatever, what separates them, the athletic ability and the talent level is pretty damn close from coaches all the way down to the water boys, all right? But what separates the good ones from the bad ones, or should I say the better ones from the good ones, is the adjustments that coaches and teams and players make. And if you're going to run a West Coast offense and you have what you have in Geno Smith and Gerard and Sanchez, and you know that you're lacking an offensive line, you know that you're lacking in receivers, you know that your running game is questionable. I don't care that Brooklyn Mikey says we're fine with the running backs. I'm not so convinced. When you got two backup running backs that are going to be coming, that's going to carry the load for the Jets. I mean, okay, in theory, they're preserved. They came from good teams, whatever, except for the Raiders. But the bottom line is this. I'm not going to immediately, if I'm the offensive coordinator and I'm looking at my roster and I'm looking at my potential starting lineup and I see that my quarterback that's going to be my guy of the future doesn't take snaps from behind center and he's used to taking them from the shotgun, why not carry that comfort zone into his play calling with this kid? And it does a couple of things. It opens up all those things that we're talking about. It makes defenses harder to cover running backs out of the backfield. It gives the receiver an edge. It gives him, the quarterback, an edge to read, see where pressure's coming from just a little bit more, a split second more. You know what? I have no problem with teams that line up their quarterback in the shotgun every down. As a matter of fact, I like it, and I think that the running game is successful from that lineup, and I think the Jets could be successful, especially since they right now look like they're going to field a weaker team than most.
Yeah, but I like I just said before, I don't think Morningweg is going to run your traditional West Coast. I think he's going to utilize the talent, and if Smith does become the starter, week 5 or whatever. And he's comfortable, taking the shotgun, and he's effective. Well, if comfortable and effectiveness, then they're going to continue to do that. They're not going to force the guy. I don't believe they're going to force the guy to you have to take snaps under center, and that's just the way it is. I think he's going to utilize the talent that Smith brings, and he's going to, do what, does make him feel comfortable. He's not a traditionalist when it comes to just running the West Coast. He will do things that are, he'll throw the ball deep down the field. which is not traditional West Coast offense. So I think that's what Marty is going to do that when eventually Smith is the starter.
Well, I still believe that it's going to unfold. The starting season is going to unfold. Sanchez number 1. Geno Smith will probably be number 3. Gerard, I have a feeling is going to get hurt. I have a feeling he's going to get hurt in preseason, so it's probably going to end up being Sanchez, Smith, and then McElroy. And Gerard will, just be, helping the kid out. I don't believe the rumors and the rumblings that they're going to release Mark Sanchez and just eat the money for by June 1st. That makes no sense, because if they're stuck with the guy, they can't trade the guy, nobody's going to pick up the salary. I can't see tossing him to the curb. He's still a guy that could be a backup quarterback. Be as it may, an $8 million quarterback. But, if Geno Smith does rise to the top and becomes the main guy, which, hey, I don't have a problem with that. If that happens, then, you're not going to toss Sanchez away this year. Next year, different story. This year, no. He'll be on that team.
No, I agree. I said there's no way that – listen, if that was the case, he would have tossed him away, meaning Woody Johnson. He would have went out with everybody else in the beginning of the year when they were getting rid of offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and plus all the other talent that we let go. At $8 million guaranteed, you're going to keep him around. And you're going to need, like I said, you're going to need some kind of, veteran leadership back there to teach Smith, because David Garrard is an accident waiting to happen.
He is.
So
he is. And I just... the biggest move so far that has bothered me the most, that the Jets have done, really, and you know who it's going to be, I'm sure, and it's not Tebow. It's that Matt Slauson. I really think they made a huge mistake getting rid of that kid. He was picked up for virtually nothing. It was definitely a conflict between him and Rex for some reason. I don't know, but it's a terrible move, I think, that the Jets made, and I don't know. I have nothing to be happy about with the Jets right now, and even Geno Smith, I see more trouble than it's worth. He still doesn't have an agent. He's talking about signing Jay-Z. I didn't even know he did football. But I don't know. It's going to be a circus. It's already starting to be. And it's not even close. It's not even close to circus time. And moving Copels to outside linebacker was ridiculous. The guy started playing well at lineman. I just don't get it, man. They just make some bonehead decisions. I don't know, dude. I really don't. I know we're playing Monday morning quarterback here, but I just don't get it. I really don't.
Did you see that Rex Ryan called Copels out yesterday?
No, what do you mean called him out? Like a fight?
Called him out. He says that he's not particularly happy with his weight room workouts. So evidently he's not putting in the time in the weight room that he should be.
That was the knock on him. That was the knock on him.
That's exactly what we said when they drafted him. Is that he plays when he wants to play, takes plays off, and he doesn't always give 110%. And already second year guy, and you got Rex calling him out, and it's like mini camp. I mean, do you work in the weight room? Are you kidding me? And then you talked about putting him at outside linebacker. I mean, he's going to cover somebody weighing 285 pounds out of the backfield?
Never in a million years. He listen, he wasn't that fast. I didn't see him running anybody down. So I just it's a that's a stupid decision for him, for the team to make with Copels. Listen, the guy started coming on last year. Between him and Wilkerson, they were coming on. Why would you mess that up? Why would you F up continuity that just started coming on? If there was one bright spot of the Jets last year, if somebody asked me, there has to be one thing that you enjoyed, I would have said the development of Wilkerson and Copels working together. And if what's the one thing that I wouldn't have done is ruin that continuity. And what's the first thing that idiot does? We're moving him to outside linebacker. I mean, I could see if the guy was a speedster and he was too small to play line, and you want to put him in there and have him drop back into pass coverage every now and then or something. But this guy doesn't have the tools, and then you criticize him for the weight room. So what? You want him bigger and slower and more sluggish, more muscular? Listen, the guy is turning into a total moron. I'm talking about Rex Ryan. I loved him. I thought he was great when he came to the Jets. Now, I think when he lost all that weight, a lot of his brains left too, because he just seems totally stupid to me, Mike.
Yeah, I think what he was referring to, and maybe his when couples, it was his cardio drills. I think that's what he was referring to as far as the weight room. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, that's exactly what they said. That's exactly the scouting report on him. That he cut corners during, in preparation. He didn't run when he was supposed to run. He didn't play when he didn't want to play. He took himself out of games. I mean, this was all the scouting reports before the Jets drafted him. So now you're going to be surprised? Yeah, come on, man. That's like saying, oh, you know what? I'm surprised Holmes is all about himself. That shocks me. Come on, man. And why haven't they signed Braylon Edwards yet? Why are they going to risk losing this guy, man? This guy
I have no idea.
Mike,
I'm still scratching my head on that.
He could be the most important guy on that friggin' team this year. I mean, any kind of comfort zone for Mark Sanchez or even Geno Smith. You gotta retain this guy. Pay him $200,000 more than what he can make someplace else, and have that security of Braylon Edwards. There is you can't show me a reason statistically or even anything since he's been on the Jets. I know he had some trouble in Cleveland, but on the Jets, no. On the San Francisco, I don't know why they tossed him away, but the Jets, he's been nothing but good for us, and the Jets are totally ridiculous if they don't sign this guy.
Yeah, if they don't, and they didn't draft anybody, they didn't draft any wide receivers. So, like you said, who's going to catch the ball? They need somebody, and Braylon, like you said, has been proven. Mark is comfortable with him, and Mark is going to be playing this year, as far as I'm concerned.
Plus, he's big.
And even if Mark's not playing, let's say they do let him go by June 1st.
Whatever. Even if he gets beat out.
You got to have somebody for the kid to throw to.
Right, a big target.
Kid, it's got to be David Garrard.
Exactly, a big target. The guy's 6'6". He jumps up, he blocks, he does whatever you ask him. Listen, man. I liked Keyshawn Johnson. He's the closest thing to Keyshawn Johnson that we've had since Keyshawn. He blocks downfield. He doesn't act like the knock on him. He's been a team player. I think he's an important part of the team. I think they need him. We don't have any. I don't have any warm and fuzzy feeling about the second-year guy from Georgia Tech. I just don't.
No, he hasn't. He doesn't catch the ball.
He doesn't, not consistently. And then who else we got? We don't have anyone else. That's the whole joke of it.
He's like 6'4", but he doesn't catch consistently. And then everybody else is like under 6 foot.
Yeah, but
Curley is 5'9", and the other guy Holmes is 5'11".
Yeah,
you need a big target.
Listen, the kid from Georgia Tech. That's another example of the Jets making stupid personnel and business moves, and I'll tell you why. Yes, he fits the bill. He's tall, he's strong, okay? But he comes from a college. Georgia Tech is a running team.
Right.
So you draft a receiver from a running team? I mean, it just makes stupid... They make stupid decisions. You pick him up.
He was barely utilized in Georgia Tech, barely. And the reason that they were so high on him was because of his 4.3 speed. Well, he could have 4.2 speed. I mean, he can't catch the ball, and he's not used to running routes. I mean, that's a big work in progress.
Didn't they learn their lesson? Johnny Lamb Jones was the fastest guy in the NFL when he played. Nobody could catch him. He could run down the field. You'd see a flash of green. One small problem: couldn't catch a football, no matter what you did. I mean, he made some catches throughout his career. I happen to have liked Johnny Lamb Jones, but He was a fast receiver that they drafted for speed. He was actually a track star. I don't even think he played football in college. I think he played track. I think he was. He might have only played a couple of years, and maybe he didn't play high school. He maybe only played a couple of years in college, but couldn't catch football. So. I don't know, man. Every time, we always close the show with the Jets, and I always have to, take some Tums after this show, man. But anyway.
I got to get you like a case of Brioski,
oh, man.
Once the season starts and just have it run, Actually, maybe Brioski could be our sponsor.
Yeah.
You're going to be going through a case of it every week with the Jets this year.
That and Scotch. We should get those two sponsors because we would be really, good support, not only supporters, but we would be users of this stuff.
Yeah, but, even better. Just put the Brioski in the Scotch.
There you go.
Are you kidding me?
That's
make
like
millions.
Remember Michael Keaton in one of the movies? I think it was called Swing Shift or something like that, where he says, "I got an idea: feed tuna mayonnaise, and you'll be all set with a sandwich."
Yeah, right.
But
exactly.
But anyway,
we'll do the same thing with the Brioski and the Scotch.
There you go. Hey, man, I got some stuff that happened on this day in New York sports history. On this day, May 11th. In 1900, Brooklyn Mikey was born. No. On this day in 1900, Jim Jeffries successfully defends his world heavyweight title by knocking out James Corbett in the 23rd round at Seaside Athletic Club in Coney Island. So that's what took place on this day in 1900. In 1914, only 88 days after announcing the team was coming to Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Tip Tops opened their first Federal League home opener with their first season at home with a 2-0 loss to Pittsburgh in front of, check this out, 18,000 fans showed up at the rebuilt Washington Park Stadium. So big stuff in 1914. Also on this day in 1970, both of our hero Tom Seaver's 16-game winning streak, which had taken some games from the previous year, and he had gone into this game 6-0. His streak comes to an end as the Expos beat him 3-0 at Shea. And finally, on this day in 1972, the Boston Bruins win the Stanley Cup in 6 games with a 3-0 win over the Rangers. I always find negative stuff about either the Knicks, the Rangers, or the Giants, or even the Yankees too.
Well, that's not too hard to do. So.
No, but there's certainly a lot of positives about those guys.
Well, yeah,
but
that's true. What's
your final thoughts today, Mike?
Looking forward to the games tonight. Knicks and the Islanders, see if the Islanders can stretch it out to a Game 7. It would be nice, but, you think they're going to do it. I kind of see Pittsburgh closing it out tonight. And, looking forward to our next time together.
I picked the Islanders and the Sharks as 2 sleepers to get into the Stanley Cup. So, of course, I got a root for the Islanders to come from behind here and win. I actually wish the Islanders and the Rangers and even the Knicks, even though I hate the Rangers and the Knicks, I wish them well because I'd like to see the Heat totally embarrass the Knicks, but we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to the Mets really trying to do something this season productive and not just have a showcase for Matt Harvey. I think if we could get a couple of other glimmers of hope out of this team, it'll make things a lot better. Unlike you, I don't like the management at all for the Mets, and I didn't like it since they brought in the new dynamic duo here, and I hope they make a change. But anyway, that's really all I have. I get sicker and sicker every time I read something about the Jets, and opposite the Giants are always making the smart moves. So the Yankees are always doing things right. The Mets are not. I mean, you see the trend here, right?
Yeah, I've been seeing this trend for 40 years.
Yeah, I know, and it's just not fair, damn it. It's just not fair. Mikey, it's always great having fun with you and doing the show. I look forward to the next time, brother.
My friend.
All right, Mikey is going to take care, and the rest of you guys, ciao, baby.